Hi, and welcome back to Toadstool Tarot. Today I am bringing you the Sola Busca IRC. I'm not sure what the IRC stands for. Just an identifying label, I suppose. There are a number of museum quality Sola Busca decks available online, and I thought, just for historical sake, I'd like to have one in my collection, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And I found this one at MakePlayingCards.com, and I like the coloring of this deck. It's a very dark deck, and the coloring as the subject matter reminds me of blood, dirt, and old leather. See if you agree. Lots of reds and browns, sort of ochre color, yellow ochre, brown, red, dark colors. I don't think there are any greens in the deck. There are some blues. They tend to be on the darker, earthier, murkier side. This deck was about $24, I believe, whereas most of the Sola Busca decks online are higher. But like I said, I particularly like the coloration and the price of this deck. And the backs are plain black. When did you have a tarot deck that's got a plain black back? I just kind of like that. Just basic. Now, you can Google the history on the Sola Busca. I'm not a historian. I don't know much about it. Supposedly, it came out in the late 1400s, and I believe was arguably the first deck to be entirely pictorial, whereas most decks at the time or earlier had majors and minors. The majors were depicted, but the minors were pip decks, just arrangements of the symbols in the suits. This one is sort of a cross in between. I mean, it's an arrangement of the pips, but they are pictorial as well. And reportedly, Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith used this as somewhat as a guide or a basis for their Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Now, you probably won't recognize that in here because there's not much in common with the Rider-Waite-Smith. You can't read it intuitively that way. In fact, some of the cards are entirely misleading. The majors all have Roman numerals on them, and this particular version of that deck, I'm not sure about others, doesn't have labels, but they have a sort of a somewhat camouflaged label at the bottom of each card, describing what it is. For instance, this one is the Fool. You may not be able to see the Fool at the bottom there. I don't know if I can bring it in close enough for you to see where it reads. Yeah, there's not really enough light there, but I don't know if you can see the Fool. I mean, it's really kind of buried in there. You have to have pretty good eyesight or a decent pair of glasses to read it. But they do all have these, well, this one's a 0 because it's the Fool, but the others have Roman numerals on the majors. And the minors, you just count the symbols on the cards, I believe. I don't think they have numbers. We'll find out when we get there. So this cardstock I love. This is the same cardstock as my favorite deck, the RWS 2.0, which I also got at MakePlayingCards.com. It's described as an S33, what do they call it? S33 Superior Smooth, whatever that means. You'll have to go, it doesn't say on the page any more than that. Maybe they describe on MakePlayingCards.com in greater degree what their card stocks are, how they're labeled or defined. I don't know. I haven't really researched it. But Did I say this one was, I think, $24? A lot of the other decks I had seen, they're more museum quality and they're considerably more expensive. So anyway, yeah, that's the Fool. The Magician, you wouldn't know these. That was the Magician. The High Priestess. There are no women in the majors here. These are all supposedly historical male figures in the generals, fighters in the army, I guess. Various historical, or I guess they're mythological. I think they're all historical figures, Roman history. This one actually does look like the Chariot, which is what it is. But other than that, there might be maybe 2 or 3 cards in the whole deck that look like what they later became in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This one is Strength, really dark. It's some guy holding a baby over a fire. It looks like he's going to rip the baby in two. I mean, this is a really dark deck. If you need to pause, you can pause. I'm not reading them all out, but you can read the Roman numerals, and if you know your majors by their numbers, you can figure out what they are. This deck does not come with a box. It comes shrink wrap, and there is no little white book, so you're on your own. I haven't checked, but there may be books out there published about the Sola Busca. I'm not even really sure. Or at the very least, you ought to be able to find some information online. Other than that, you may just have to go by a numbering system for other decks and work with that. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to work with this deck. I just thought I kind of liked the imagery. I mean, it is awful dark, but I like the sort of art historical angle of it, and just as a kind of historical art card deck, I thought I'd like to have it in my collection. So here we start the Pentacles, and I don't know what that says around the ring there. I'm not sure what language it is, if it identifies the originator or creator of the deck. I don't know if it's the same on other Sola Busca decks or particular to this version. There's the 2 Pentacles, 3. So you can see we have clusters of them, but there is some imagery to sort of tell a story. This one sort of works. It's a 5 of Pentacles, although that doesn't really correspond, I don't believe, in the RWS as the craftsman making 5 Pentacles, or does it? I'm trying to remember. I have to crane my memory. Well, you can find out. Like I said, do your own research. This is just a walkthrough to see if this is something that you might like to own a copy of. These kind of remind me in a way of paintings by Bruegel. They have that real earthy color quality to them. And this is one of the decks. Well, there's a knight. You can tell the knights because you can tell the court cards differently from the majors because the court cards don't have Roman numerals on them. That's the page. That's the knight. The knights are all on horses. The queen, female figure. The king. I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was saying. With the cups. Yeah, I'm trying to remember now that Five of Pentacles. I believe the craftsmen are 3 and 8. I can't remember what the 5 is. And these cups are more like cauldrons or kettles or pots. This is interesting. I don't know who this is. He's a knight on horseback, but he's got wings, so he's not human, whoever he is. Then we have the wands. These wands look like giant pens or pencils. It's pretty severe. This looks like the Three of Swords appears through the heart in the usual decks. It's the Three of Wands here. What number is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, my mind is drawing a complete blank on the RWS system. So I think the 5 is the playing unfairly card. 6. This one looks like he's, I don't know if he's stealing away wands or just carrying a load. That one looks really bogged down. 2, 4, 6, 7. Oh, there is a 7 on that card. I guess there are numbers on these cards. They're very small. So I'm curious if you have worked with a Sola Busca deck and what resources you might have used to help you, or if you just follow other systems and muddle your way through. How do you read with these cards? Oh, now we're into swords. Now you can tell the swords because they're red swords and they have a hilt on them. Okay, now, and here, okay, that one, everybody who knows RWS will recognize that image. 3 swords piercing a heart. This looks very much like the Ten of Wands we're familiar with, but it's the Ten of Swords in this deck. But this looks like Pixie might have used this as inspiration for her Ten of Wands. And the King. So, yeah, I like the card quality. I like the basic black back. I like the coloring in this deck. They have sort of a textured looking, kind of earthy, goldy yellow kind of color around the edge of the borders. It's an affordable deck. So if you just want a cheap Sola Busca, that's pretty decent colors, this might work for you. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.